Today, I am ranking all 41 fruits and Blox fruits, including their mutations, on a tier list. With a whole bunch of reworks, the power balance and the fruit rankings in the game has completely changed, so it's finally time we update our tier list. This list will be accurate as of update 29, the control update. And guys, because I will probably get cancelled for expressing my opinion on the internet, be sure to show me some love by liking the video, subscribing with notifications, and let's get to ranking. And of course, we're starting with the mythical rocket fruit. Now, everybody calls it a mythical as a joke. It's a common, okay? It's the most common fruit in the entire game. So first of all, what are the moves? All right, we got the missile fist like Mega Man. We have the airstrike predator missile, the rocket crash, boom. And of course, the blast off. It's even got a flight move, guys. That's pretty good for a common fruit. And it is a very easy fruit to obtain, extremely cheap, so pretty good for lower level players to grind with in the first sea when they're starting out with really not much to work with. And because of that, the rocket earns a sweet spot directly into the F tier. Moving on to the second cheapest, the second most common, but the first worst fruit, we have the spin. We got the razor wind, the tornado assault, the air slasher, and of course, last but not least, the wobbly helicopter fly. Whee! Now, what is a redeeming factor about this fruit? Honestly, I can't really say much. Alright, it's got just as terrible damage as the rocket, and it's got probably even worse range. You can't really hit your enemies from very far away. So the spin also gets a cozy place right after the rocket in the F tier. But don't worry guys, we have a fruit coming up later that's even worse than the spin. The third fruit that we have on the list is the blade. Alright, what used to be the chop, one of the worst fruits in the entire game, has gotten a glow up. And with its glow up comes one of the greatest features this fruit has to offer, which is an M1 ability. I will say, obviously, the skills, damage-wise, you know, it's not nearly as high as some of the rare fruits that also have M1. But come on, this is pretty good. Also, looks insane. They have completely given it a brand new moveset. And you also get a flight move, even though this one is probably the least effective so far. I gotta say, man, this does not deserve a spot in the F tier. But it's also not that good either. Maybe we'll put it in the C. Yeah, that's a solid spot. Okay, up next, we have the spring, guys. I'm almost inclined to just completely skip this. Talking about this fruit itself is just a total waste of time, and I know nobody cares about it because the developers themselves haven't even reworked this fruit, and I don't even know how many years, man. There's the spring snipe, we have the spring cannon, the spring emperor, which like bounces you around different walls. Kind of cool. I get no, there's nothing cool about it. Not good for PvEs and definitely not good for PvPs. This fruit is completely useless and I would say is the worst fruit in the entire game. Don't even at me, alright? Bottom of the F tier it goes. Not a great start so far, but that's only because we're ranking some of the worst fruits in the game so far, alright? It's only gonna get better from here, guys, trust me. Okay, up next, we have the bomb fruit, which is quite opposite of the spring. It's actually been shown so much love by Blox fruits that it even have multiple different skins to celebrate how much they love it. Now, guys, I'll be honest with you, I actually haven't used the bomb much since it got its rework. I believe it has an M1 now. Yes, it does. Yeet! The target bomb now has a totally different look to it too. Pretty decent range if you ask me. The bomb grab. Self-destruct is actually a diabolical move. You turn your own head into a massive bomb and just blow it off. Oh god. I will say, in terms of grinding, it is definitely one of the better common fruits. Probably not as good as the blade yet, but overall, it is not as spammable as some of the other fruits if you want to deal just as much damage as humanly possible, right? And I am sticking to the C tier for the bomb fruit. Next up, we have the smoke fruit. Now, it's only ever been talked about because of your boy right here, okay? But anyway, in terms of grinding though, the smoke fruit doesn't even have an M1. You're gonna have to rely on just its skills, which have pretty terrible range and don't deal all that much damage. One positive thing I will say about the smoke, it is a Logia, okay, and an elemental fruit in Blox fruits. So you can't really get hit by your enemies. Decent for beginner levels, but overall, just bad. Just not great at all. Honestly, I don't know if you agree with me or not, guys, but smoke goes into the F tier for me. All right, the spike fruit, or what other people like to call the poor man's dough. I wouldn't wish the spike fruit on my worst enemy. Look, it only has 4 skills. No M1. Spike summon. Ooh, this area is kind of big though. I'm not gonna lie. And of course, this is the spike ball that people say that makes you look like the dough fruit. I just think it looks like Sonic the Hedgehog. So as you can see, not very good for PvE, right? Not great for grinding. And the slowness of these moves translate over to PvP as well. These moves are very, very easy to dodge. Spike Fruit goes into the bottom of the F tier. I will say it's probably slightly better than the Spring, but worse than everything else. Okay, here is where things start getting a little interesting. Every fruit that we have ranked so far has been common fruit. And now we're moving on to the uncommon tier. And we're starting with the flame. Now, it is an elemental fruit as well, so you do get the elemental immunity, but unfortunately, it does not come with an M1 skill, all right? But what is good about the flame is it has decent medium range. They're not very long, that's what she said. And it has an awakening, okay? Which is relatively easy to do. But in terms of PvP, there's not a whole lot of combo potential. And in terms of PvE, a lot of the moves have pretty high knockback, like that one right there. I'd still say it's not as good as the blade fruit, guys. The blade fruit still takes it for me. But yes, the ice fruit. This is a great fruit to use, okay? First of all, as you notice immediately, the ice fruit does have a spear that come with it. It does have an M1 ability, which is pretty good for grinding. On top of the fact that you get elemental immunity, in the first and second seas, you could pretty much clear the entirety of it pretty easily with not much worry. And the ice also does have an awakening as well, which is relatively easy to do, I would say. Very, very good starting fruit overall. Also has pretty decent mobility. Unfortunately, you can't fly, but you travel very fast with the ice skating. We'll leave it in the B tier for now. Now, if you guys have noticed, I've been changing islands every time I moved on to a new fruit to rank, but for this next one, I felt it was appropriate to come back to an island we visited before, the desert. Because we are talking about this pancake fruit, the pancake ninja, the sand. It is an elemental fruit, which is good, but it does not have an M1. It's lacking in that regard. We have the desert blade, the sand coffin, the sand storm, which knocks your opponents around by quite a bit, and then the deep sand, which has like a massive screen shake. So a lot of moves, but not very good for mobbing, all right? And even in PvP situations, the sand, it just does not shine. It does not stand out at all. I think we're gonna have a lot more C tiers coming up, so yeah, let's put it at the top of the F, guys. Now, as it turns out, the uncommon tier is just the tier of elemental fruits in the game for some reason. The dark fruit is the 4th uncommon and also the 4th elemental fruit in that category. So because it's an elemental, obviously it has elemental immunity. The moves, once again, are pretty good for stuns, actually. I can't really demonstrate it because there's not a lot of enemies here. You can also use the Abyssal Darkness to draw them close to you. And of course, the Endless Hole is one of the greatest stun moves in the entire game. But as you would have noticed, everything I've described about the dark fruit is pretty good for PvPs. But PvE-wise, not a very good fruit for grinding. I would not recommend. Actually, you know what? It's pretty good for PvPs relative to this flame fruit. So let's put it on the top of the C tier. Okay, the first non-elemental fruit in the uncommon category, we have the eagle. So as you would immediately notice, this thing has a feather meter. And what that is it allows you to stay in the air while in aerial combat. Not many fruits other than this have that ability. Relatively high damage output, very good PvP potential, believe it or not, and it even have an M1 where you could just fling feather at opponents. Not the best for PvE, I would say, but still better than most fruits that we've seen so far on this list. The eagle goes into top of the C tier. And the final fruit in the uncommon category is the diamond. So in order to use the diamond fruit, you have to first encrust. I have the ruby diamond, so I don't look any different at all. I'm already red. I have the M1 here. which tackles your opponent. It's not spammable though. There's a huge delay between when you can use the M1s. And because of the massive defense buff you get with the Encrust, it is actually very good for PvPs as a sword fighting style or gun main. High-key, I am inclined to put the diamond into the B tier. I wouldn't say it's as good as the ice, but it's got some very niche uses that people are able to abuse the hell out of. But the next fruit that we're ranking is not niche at all and is literally good for every purpose. And of course, I am talking about the light fruit. And we're finally moving up to the rare category. But first, check it out. With the light fruit, you get one of the best M1 abilities in the entire game, the light spear. On top of the fact that you do get elemental immunity, right? I think it's called actually elemental reflex now, if I think about it. The skills are very cool. Divine arrow, Hand of the Emperor, you can just like hold it down and beam your opponent to death. The light speed destroyer, bang bang. The V move has insane AoE, and you have one of the fastest flight abilities in the entire game. So clearly, this is one of the best fruits for grinding, especially in the first and probably half of the second C. But in terms of PvP, I mean, it's not the best PvP fruit, but has some pretty good combo potential. But still, it deserves a spot easily in the A tier. And next up, we have the rubber fruit, a giant eraser. Of course, this is inspired by Luffy's fruit, the human fruit model sun god Nika, all right? The world's most overpowered devil fruit in One Piece. You do get an M1 with it, right? The Gumu no pistol. There is a major delay, so you can't really use it to spam and grind. And of course, this is just moves taken straight out of Luffy's arsenal. You got the cannon, the smash, which is the stamp, the Gatling, which is called the rush in this game, and the slingshot that can fling you around. That is the F mobility move. But the cool thing about this fruit is, although it is not a beast type, you can still get a transformation, which is a gear second. Just makes your skills a lot faster and deal some more damage here. The pros about this fruit, honestly, there are none. I would say maybe using the slingshot is kind of fun, but that's about it. The rubber fruit definitely goes into the C tier. I would say this is probably, yeah, this is below the flame. Let's put it right here. Boom! Yeah, that's right. We got the ghost. Honestly, nothing about this fruit really stands out to me. Let's show you what skills we got. The Shivering Possession, the Spectral Release, just a bunch of screaming attacks. But the funniest move is definitely the Ghostbusters by far. You summon two of your twins here and they just jump the opponents. The Unwandering Soul is, of course, a flight move. This fruit has no M1 ability, but it does have a passive where if you run out of HP, you actually don't die and just turn into a ghost with 50% of your original health. Overall, nothing about this fruit stands out to me, but it's also not bad either. We'll put it somewhere into the C tier, probably right above the rubber fruit. All right, here we go. The next fruit, the magma. Now, this thing is an absolute monster, okay? As you can see right away, I am currently holding it while standing in lava. Well, that's because one of the passives with this fruit is that it gives you immunity to lava, okay? But on top of being able to walk on lava, the magma fruit also allows you to walk on water once you have fully awakened it. This is one of the most spammable fruits in the entire game with skills such as the Magma Shower, the Volcanic Assault, the Great Magma Hound. Every single move has incredible damage output. This is arguably the best fruit in the game for spamming and killing bosses and also completing sea events. And of course, it goes without saying, the very high damage output on this fruit is very good for spamming during PvPs as well. So this is just a all-around a very polished fruit. I would say the magma also goes into the A tier. Right there is a good spot. Okay, moving on to the legendary category now. We have the Quake. First of all, how is this a legendary and only have 4 skills? There's no mobility at all. The Quake does have an awakening, but even when you awaken it, it's not all that impressive. Starting with the Fatal Demolisher, drag your opponent over and just crack the screen. Now, the very observant ones would have noticed that the visual effects are extremely outdated. Yeah, look at how bad this looks. Absolutely terrible, bro. I could have made this in Roblox Studio. The damage on the Quake is not bad, all right? But because of the fact that every single skill has incredibly high cooldowns, especially the Sea Quake, and most skills have very far knockbacks on the opponents, as well as the fact that it does not have an M1 ability and and no mobility skill, this fruit is not recommended for PvE at all. I will probably put the Quake fruit somewhere right over here. Yeah, that's a decent spot. We have yet to get a fruit in the S tier, but I feel like that is going to change very soon. Because up next, we have the Buddha fruit. Before we even talk about all the pros and cons, all that blah, 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 straight into the S tier, okay? But now let's go to the actual fruit, all right? Obviously, this fruit has an awakening. I have the awakened version, and everybody in the game should. Because once you transform to this giant, massive, yellow glowing orb, you are just a grinding machine. Whether you're using a fighting style like my Sanguine Art here, or a sword like my True Triple Dark Blade, this Buddha massively increases your range by up to 8 times compared to your regular size. But don't worry if they manage to hit you guys, because it wouldn't hurt at all. Because with the Buddha fruit, you gain a massive damage reduction. So the damage that you take from these enemies, you would barely even feel it. Like, look at this, bro. So for killing NPCs and bosses, there is literally no better option than using the Buddha fruit. This has been one of the best fruits in the entire game since the Awakening released in Update 15. And now, almost 15 updates later, it is still one of the best fruits in the game. Definitely has withstood the test of time, and that is why it goes into the S tier, out of pure respect and love. Speaking of love, let's move on to the next fruit. Yes, because we have the love fruit coming up next, guys. The zestiest looking fruit in the game by far, but is it any good? Well, to start off, here are your moves, right? We have the heart shot, very pink, very zesty. We also have the Cupid zone, which traps your opponent in this lovely circle. And of course, our famous move, the Besto Ferendo. Alright, it summons your best friend in the entire world to come and do your dirty deeds for you. Although I have no clue who this e-boy looking thing is. Okay, can I get a different best friend? I don't like that guy. Yeah, it's my boy K. And for the first time, I feel taller than him. If you guys don't know, that guy's like 6'7" for some reason. Last but not least, we have the flamingo ride, guys, which, oh my god, look, he got knocked back by the enemy and then instantly teleported onto my flamingo. That's the weirdest pose ever. He looks like a baby. You can still use all of your skills while you're on top of the flamingo, guys, meaning it is great for aerial combat and air camping, especially when you're fighting bosses that don't know how to jump up to fight you. But unfortunately, all of these skills have a relatively low combo potential, and the damage that's dealt by the Love Fruit is not very good. I'll go ahead and put the Love Fruit above the Quake, but I think the Flame is a lot better than this. Next up, we have the Fortnite Tetris Fruit, the Creation. So why don't we start off with the basics, right? The Creation Fruit, although it is a normal Paramecia type fruit, it does have an M1, but this M1 is very unique. You just bring up like a massive shield of cards in front of you. You can move it around to damage your opponents. I've never seen something like this before. Next up, we got some of the weirdest skills in the entire game. Batter up, turn yourself into a massive, just a pumping cannon, and shoot at the opponent and hit him with a literal bat. Like, who came up with this, bro? Next up, we got Sword Box. You bring up like this disco floor, and then all these swords from outside just start stabbing into your opponents. Very trippy skills, dude. Last but not least, one of the most difficult skills I've ever had to use, which is Magic City, okay? You see these buildings in front of you? Boom. Turn into actual buildings. As if it doesn't get crazy enough, you also have this Fortify skill. Turn you into Michael Jackson, and now you turn the game into Fortnite. You just start building all kinds of... look at this. There's so much creativity, and like, I'm not the most creative guy, so like, I don't know what I could build. Guys, I honestly don't know if this thing is gonna be at all effective in PvPs. I will say, probably gonna be one of the funnest fruits to use though. You know what? I think we'll put it here, right here in the top of the C tier. Okay, up next we have the spider. Now, I don't really want to dwell on this fruit for too long. Number one, I hate insects and spiders. Number two, there's really nothing too special about this fruit. So the fruit itself does not have an M1 ability for you to be able to grind with. It is a Paramecia fruit, so you don't get the Logia elemental immunity. And also, the skills on these have pretty small hitboxes. So all around, just a very mid fruit for every situation. You wouldn't find yourself using this fruit fruit ever. The spider fruit will go, I would say, yeah, probably right below the love. Okay, up next, we got this cute little boombox, the sound fruit. Now, right off the bat, you would notice that the sound fruit has this thing called the tempo meter, which is a passive ability, and the best way to fill up that meter is by using the F move, the tempo prestissimo. As you glide around in this mesmerizing flight move, you will see the tempo meter filling up really quickly, and once it's activated, everything turns gold. Here's the special part about this. It increases you and everyone in your party's speed and damage and reduces incoming damage as well. So very good for partying up in raids or boss fights. The sound fruit is one of your go-to choices. Unfortunately though, it does have relatively weak stuns and combo potential, and the cooldowns on these skills are relatively long. So in a PvP situation, this fruit is definitely not preferred. So, you know what? Let's go ahead and put it right here in the B tier. That's a good spot, I think. And the next fruit rises like a phoenix, rise from the volcanic ashes. The legendary phoenix fruit. You do have an M1. It is not something that is spammable and does knock your opponent back pretty far. The cremation cannon, the X move, you know, and it looks like I'm hurt a little bit, but it doesn't matter because we could just use the X move and regenerate our health. And the swift flight, which is the hybrid flight move of the Phoenix, which allows you to freely fly around. But if you were feeling a little more furry and wanted to do the full transformation, well, we have the blazing plumage, okay? Turns us into a literal blue phoenix, just like my boy Marco in the anime One Piece, and the skills become a lot cooler. Woo-wee! Just better all-around skills. But of course, the most important skill the Phoenix has is the regeneration flames. When we talk about the sound fruit being important in parties, so is the Phoenix, all right? I will give the Phoenix a nice spot, probably near the bottom of the B tier. That is, I would say that's fair. Okay, so next up, we have what is probably the most important fruit in the entire game. Not the strongest, the most important. And of course, I am talking about this drooling, confused-looking portal fruit. For legendary fruit to be the most important, gee, MeEnyu, how is that possible? Well, I'm gonna tell you why. Oh, and the game is literally giving us a reason as we speak. Look, fruit detected 1,134 meters away. No problem. Looks like it's over by the Winter Castle. Why don't we just go ahead and teleport over? And look, all of a sudden, we're only 40 meters away. And that is why this fruit is super important. Okay, obviously not because of the fact that you can teleport to fruits on the fruit notifier, but because of the fact that you can teleport to anywhere on the map. There are dozens of places you can teleport to in each sea. It's the best fruit mobility-wise, okay? Not only does the C move teleport you everywhere, the M1 move propels you forward, the portal dash, the Z move propels you forward, and the F move quantum leap propels you forward even more. And let's not forget about the dimensional rift, all right? The original domain expansion, all right? Teleports your opponent into this rift. The most annoying move to go up against in PvP by far. You just cannot predict what a portal user is going to do next. Portal fruit definitely goes into the S tier. And the lightning fruit is next. So first of all, it is an elemental fruit like many others we've seen so far, which means it has elemental immunity. So the lightning fruit also has an M1 now after the rework, which you can use to just like continuously zap your opponent. So the Z move, the V move, and the F move all each cost one of these orbs in order to use. So if I want to spam lightning orbs, you see, I can only spam it up to 4 times. Until I get another orb, I can't use it anymore. I have to wait 5 seconds for these orbs to charge up. Next up, we got Thunderstorm, which is a much better looking version of the previous X move on the lightning fruit. And then the Sky Judgment, which drops a literal lightning beam down onto your opponent. And of course, the coolest V move of all, the Thunder Ball Destruction. The Flame and the Dark Balls got nothing compared to this thing. Look at this. Planetary levels of destruction right here. So as you can already see, the lightning is very good at stunning your opponents, guys, which gives it incredible combo potential in PvPs on top of the fact that it does have a M1 move. it's not the worst for grinding. Definitely an A tier fruit. I would put it right below the magma, guys. Next up, we have the pain. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I haven't really used the pain fruit much ever since the rework, solely because of the fact of just how overwhelming it is. So here we go. Right off the bat, we have another passive ability, right? The pain meter. The pain fruit also has an M1 now, which is incredible. It's actually so cool. Unfortunately, that knockback is way too crazy to be very efficient in PvE grinding. But that's okay, though. As I'm taking damage, though, my pain meter is filling up. Okay, now for the actual skills. Fury Jab. This thing is a literal minigun. It will keep on shooting at your opponents, but the speed of it reduces more and more as you shoot. So another cool passive ability that the pain fruit has is also, I'm pretty sure once you die, it sends you to like an extra rage mode. Yeah, there you go. You turn Ultra Instinct Super Saiyan. Look at the way you start sprinting. Everything becomes better. So there you go, guys. Again, not an expert at the pain fruit, but from what I understand, it has insane damage, insane range, very good for PvP, and also decent for PvEs. So it doesn't pain me at all to say this. I think the pain and the lightning fruit are both very close with each other. I might put the pain above the lightning right up here in the A tier. I could be wrong on this, so correct me if I am, guys. Okay, next up, we have the blizzard fruit. Look how scared this thing looks. But for some reason, being as good as the blizzard is, it is actually not a very popular fruit in the game. So let's go ahead and take a look at why. First of all, it is an elemental fruit, so we do get the immunity that comes with it, right? That is already a major plus for PvE grinding. So it isn't overall just a very good fruit. It has decent combo potential. A lot of the moves can break instinct. Good for raids, you know, for spamming the F move, gathering all the NPCs and just completely decimating them. Decent for grinding levels as well. So overall, just not bad. But as you can see also, nothing in it really stands out too much. Deserves a spot right beside his cousin right here, the ice, inside of the B tier. And with the blizzard, we're officially done with the legendary fruits and have finally moved on to the mythical category. And we're starting with the gravity. So the gravity was one of the first fruits that got hit with a rework earlier last year. And let me just say, man, it did not disappoint at all. We now have an M1 with a gravity fruit that is, I don't really know how to describe this thing, man. It charges up, it links to each other, and it can hit the opponents. Singularity, look at this thing, bro. Now, guys, my gravity fruit on this account isn't fully upgraded, so I cannot demonstrate that for you. We got a gravity minigun with the orbital chain. Gravitational prison. And the V move, the asteroid crash. The F move is the shooting star for which you can just ride on and still use all of your attacks with. So that's pretty cool and useful. The biggest downside of this fruit is a lot of the skills do require, you know, some sort of startup like charging up and things like that in order to deal damage to your opponents. So it could be on the relatively slower side, if I had to make a complaint. I'm sorry to break you guys up, but gravity fruit is gonna go between the ice and the blizzard, right over here. Alright, hang tight with me because the mythical category is the biggest in Blox fruit, so we have a lot to go through. And of course, up next, we have the mammoth fruit. So first of all, we have the untransformed version in which, you know, all of the skills work as just shadows of the transformed version, right? The ancient cutter, a prehistoric punt, colossal crusher, and the stampede, which this one works a little bit differently compared to the transformed version, which I will show you. Mammoth transform. The M1 is unstoppable, all right? Very good for grinding, although you would need to get 300 mastery just to get this transformation. And every single move that you see here is exactly the same, except you see it being done by the actual mammoth model. So nothing here really changes except for the F move, which is the stampede. Like, you could just hold down the F move and it'll never end and just run over everybody. Great PvE abilities, very spammable in PvPs as well. So, you know, could be used very effectively in PvP, although you do feel a lot slower and are a much bigger target. But there's no worries because you can just jump to avoid your opponent's attacks. So the mammoth, I will probably put right above the gravity into the B. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Right here, right in the B tier. Next up, we have the T-Rex. I am so sorry you had to see that. I'll be honest, guys. The T-Rex, I would say, is probably like a slightly better version of the Mammoth and a slightly worse version of the Kitsune. Basically, why it's better than the Mammoth is in its base form, you actually do have an M1 ability. The skills are Tail Swipe, Predatorial Screech, Hunter's Rage, and of course, a giant leap that also allows you to jump and damage your opponent. So the thing that's different about this compared to the Mammoth is you need to fill the Fury meter up in order to actually transform. So here we go. The Extinct T-Rex. It's so funny that as you transform, meteors fall around you as if that wasn't the reason why you don't exist anymore. You do get a massive damage reduction, slightly less than the Mammoth fruit, but I think it makes up for it by slightly better mobility. Also a very spammable fruit for PvPs and PvEs. I will highly recommend using it. But once again, insane mastery requirement in order to actually transform. For that reason, I would say the T-Rex is much more useful than the Mammoth, and I would put it actually slightly above the Ice Fruit, right here. Next up, we have one of the best fruits of all time in terms of PvP, the Dough Fruit. Now, first of all, the Dough Fruit is an elemental, okay, so you do get the elemental reflexes. It is one of the best fruits at comboing you have ever seen. First move, the Missile Jab. We got the Pastry River, Piercing Clothesline. And of course, we have the Dough Fist Fusillade. So as you would have noticed, a lot of these skills are able to like sort of stun your opponents. You can chain these moves to do some crazy combos with it. You don't even have to be like a fruit main build in order to use combos on this fruit. However, one of the biggest cons of the Dough Fruit, other than the fact that it is nearly impossible to obtain, is how difficult it is to unlock all of the awakened skills. Guys, to fully awaken your Dough Fruit is so tough. But just solely based off of the fact of how overpowered the Dough Fruit is in terms of PvP, we're just gonna ignore the PvE aspect and throw it directly into the S tier. Let's put it right between the Buddha and the Portal. But the same thing probably can't be said about the Shadow Fruit, which is one of the most neglected mythical fruits in the entire game, and I will explain why. So first of all, when you have the Shadow Fruit equipped, you get this thing called the Umbra meter, which is one of the most useless meters in the entire game. It fills up when you deal damage on your opponents, and the only thing that it does is just it's drained when you use your Corvus Torment effect. That's like all it does for you. This thing is pretty good for PvPs, I will say, but there are just so many other fruits out there that has way better PvP potential. The biggest drawback of the Shadow Fruit is pretty much most of the moves are single target, and you can't really grind with it. It's pretty inefficient. So when it comes to PvEs, you know, for gaining a bunch of levels and also doing raids and sea events, it's not the most effective. I think the Shadow Fruit goes into the B tier, maybe above the Diamond. I wouldn't put it anywhere higher than that. The Venom is up next, guys. Another fruit that is long overdue for a massive rework, but it still doesn't take away from the fact that the Venom is still a pretty decent fruit. So first of all, the Venom also has a Fury meter. Now, many people sort of confuse the Venom with being an elemental fruit. That is just completely false. Fake news. The Venom is not elemental, so you are still going to get hit by your enemies. But let's start with the Poison Daggers, all right? A very spammable move, but the cool thing about the Venom is not its skills, but these poison puddles that's able to do tick damage to your opponents. But of course, you're all here to see the Venom transformation into the three-headed Hydra. I just messed up saying the word Hydra. That was a little embarrassing. But anyways, it's also not a beast fruit, even though you can transform, guys. This Hydra model, also outdated, probably needs a rework. And of course, the moves gets better. First of all, when you jump up as the Venom, you can spew out like more poison around you. So everything that you do severely poisons your opponents. This is a very, very decent PvP fruit. Only problem is the Fury meter drains very fast, guys. And in terms of PvEs, unfortunately, you know, does not have an M1 ability. There's a lot of cooldown. These skills are pretty slow. So it's not the best for grinding levels, I would say. Overall, still a decent fruit. I would probably put it somewhere above the Shadow. Yeah, that's where the Venom will go. All right, I'm excited for this one, guys. Next up, we have the Gas Fruit. One of my favorite new fruits to be released least as of recently. This is what a mythical fruit should look like. First of all, gas, elemental, you can't touch this, all right? On top of the fact that it has M1 spam. One of the fastest M1 spam I have ever seen. You pull out this gas sword and just start dicing, dude. Now, let's go to the skills. We have suffocating fumes. Pretty good. We got bursting vapor. Look at that. Look at the ring surrounding you. Can we just talk about how nice this fruit looks, the colors, and the VFX? Traveling gas, I will say, is probably one of the slower F moves, especially for a mythic. And once your gas meter is filled up, of course, you can transform into a massive gas giant. You look literally like the genie with armor on. This thing is like not as big as the Buddha, but quite massive and makes the M1 spam grind even easier, guys. Amazing fruit for grinding, amazing fruit for killing bosses, amazing fruit for PvPs because you could just spam. Yeah, the gas fruit is definitely going to S tier for me. I mean, I still personally prefer the Buddha, but the gas fruit is close, man. Next up, we have a very undervalued fruit. Undervalued mostly by me, okay? Because I almost never use this thing, and that is the spirit. So right away, you would notice a very unique bar on the top of your skill list, and that is the spirits bar. So as it slowly fills up, you can summon these little buddies that gives you very cool boosts. So the blue ones, you can summon, what is this? This is a pig, which gives you a speed boost, makes you run faster. Or you could get a star that will heal you every once in a while. Now, if you were to summon the red ones, here we go. Boom. A toad that sticks out his long freaky tongue at your opponents and drags them in and deals damage. Oh, this poison mushroom deals poison damage, very similar to the venom. And let's try to see if we can get the last buddy out. The last buddy, yeah, the tree, which brings out its roots and stuns your opponents as well. It is so insanely versatile, and I haven't even used a single skill yet. Frostfire Grasp, Wrath of Ra, Wrath of Shu, one of the most overpowered skills of them all, the End of Times, bro. Once you chain together the skills, along with all of your power-ups, you can deal so much damage at once to your enemy, they will be dead within the blink of an eye. So yeah, very overpowered fruit for PvPs, but PvE, not so much. Yeah, this thing is going into the A tier, guys. Now we're moving on to the heavy hitters, alright? The rest of the fruits we'll be ranking are the strongest among even the mythical fruit category. And we're starting with the brand new reworked tiger, what used to be the leopard fruit. And for the purpose of time, we'll be ranking the tiger and the werewolf together as one fruit because the werewolf is just a mutation of the tiger. It's not much better or worse. They're very, very similar. And here we go. All right, so the tiger fruit, what's bad about it? Doesn't have an M1 unless you transform, which is very annoying. Definitely not recommended for lower level players. This is for sure an end game type of fruit. Starting with the finger revolver. Oh, buddy. Oh my god. Very, very similar to the previous leopard fruit. There's not much difference other than like some visual changes, right? The body liquor, that's different. But you guys have all come to see the transformation. Yeah, the transformed tiger fruit. This thing looks sick. Straight out of Kung Fu Panda. You already know. Now you get an M1. Now you can start spamming these fools with their M1 and fill up your fire meter. And once your fire meter is fully filled, you can go into your second form, the ultimate furry. Just start crawling on all fours. Like I said, super high mobility, very fast, very good damage, DPS, and extremely easily spammable. Not much different can be said about the werewolf mutation though, guys. Like I said, it is essentially just the same thing, okay? I wouldn't say they're very much different from one another. So we'll just rank both of these fruits at the exact same time. Tiger and werewolf fruits, easily S tier, guys. Easily S tier. You know what? Let's go ahead and place them above the Buddha. Hey, Buddha is still my favorite, but there's just no denying how good these two fruits are. All right, next up, we got the Yeti, another heavy hitter on this tier list. Unfortunately, I do not have a physical Yeti fruit on me. For some reason, I have like every physical fruit except for the Yeti. But yeah, just picture like a big furry thing with like red eyes and horns. It looks pretty cool. So let's just go ahead and get to the actual fruit itself. There is no fury meter for transformation. You just literally transform and stay in your transformation forever. That's pretty cool. But let's start with the untransformed skills. The Arctic Cheek Clap, big old frostbite boulder, Glacial Execution, I love this one. Kind of reminds me of that Spirit move. And of course, even the F move, the Tundra Rush, is able to deal, oh my god. Pretty sure that's not what the skill was designed to do, guys. So let's not take that into consideration, all right, in our ranking. But let's go ahead and now transform into the massive Yeti. But yeah, with the transformed Yeti, you now have an M1 spam, guys. So it does make grinding slightly easier. But you see, the problem with that is you need 300 mastery to get the transformation. So good luck doing that without an M1 ability. The problem with a Yeti skill is as powerful and spammable as they are, they do put you at a pretty vulnerable position when you're executing them. Especially like the Glacial Execution, while you're using it, you could literally get teamed or have other NPCs just come and hit you from behind. And one bonus fact about the Yeti is that you're able to just like walk on ice. And I'm pretty sure the Frostbite Boulder also makes like giant blocks on ice that you can stand on. Pretty damn cool if you ask me. Pretty overpowered if you ask me. I think the rest of the fruits that we're gonna look at are all gonna end up on the S tier, but I honestly feel like the Yeti is closer to the top of the A tier. So that's where it's going to land. All right, this is the moment a lot of you guys have been waiting for. We are moving on to the Kitsune. Still one of the most sought after fruits in the entire game. Probably second only to the dragon. We'll also be ranking its mutation, the Emperion, at the exact same time. All right, they are very, very similar. So first off, as you can see, with the Kitsune, I have already been turned into a furry. I already gained the 3 tails, which makes me incredibly fast, and I get Foxfire around me. Now, these are going to be very important. Look at the blue flame skills, guys. Look at how sick these are. On top of the fact that it has one of the best M1s out of every single Blox fruit. And we haven't even gotten to the transformation yet, guys. Transforming to the Kitsune makes it one of the fastest fruits on land and water, as you could literally just walk on water like most mythical fruits can. The M1 is still just as powerful as ever before. Combined with the M1 and the ability to spam all these skills, you can deal so much damage in the blink of an eye, it's not even funny, guys. And of course, the same goes for the Emperion. I will say it's exactly like the Kitsune, except the model looks a little bit cooler. Some of the skills are a little bit different, of course. I like the Z skill here, the sweeping firestorm, and the Z skill that gives you a literal cutscene, which is pretty fire. But yeah, both the Emperion and the Kitsune are amazing options for early level, mid-level, end game, grinding, PvP, PvE, anything you want to do. Top of the S tier they go. Yeah, right there. I will put the Kitsune above the Emperion just for, you know, nostalgia's sake. And the second last fruit on our tier list today is the Control, the most recently reworked mythical fruit that took 3 years to complete. And guys, it was worth every second of waiting. So right off the bat, the biggest difference now is even outside of your domain, the Control has an M1. You could use some of the skills like the Slice and Dice. Look at that, the Gamma Blade and the Transmutation. You don't even need to summon a domain anymore. You don't even need the room. But once you get the room out, it's over for me. I died while holding a Control. So once you have gotten the Control room out, you have 2 modes, all right? The first one is the Dagger. And when you fully upgrade it, you can use it to just slash not only enemies, but the map itself. You could slice the trees, you could slice the objects. The Slice and Dice, the Gamma Blade, this is one of my favorite moves, that C move right there. And once you get your domain out, you can tap Z to switch between the Dagger mode and the Fist mode, alright? The Fist mode is very cool. You could summon like these gigantic, massive bricks and just drop them on your opponents. There is one more thing I do want to show you too, is when you fully upgrade your Control and fill out the meter, you can also hold down your V move to hit them with an ultimate cutscene, guys. This is going to completely lag on my computer, but it was totally worth showing you guys. I mean, just how cool is the Control fruit? Control, automatic S tier. I will say though, I don't think it's as good as the Tiger or the Kitsune. I'm gonna have to put this one behind the Buddha fruit, guys. Don't cancel me. And guys, last but not least, we have the most sought after fruit in the entire game. The mythical dragon and western dragons on the exact same ranking, all right? And we're starting off with the eastern dragon, which is, you know, because I'm Asian, I do have a preference, all right? Dragon fruit, whether you're eastern or western dragon, have an M1. That is a great, fantastic for grinding, guys. It is even better when you do reach your second form, which I will show you in a second. But here we have the Heatwave Cannon. Without transformation, all of these moves are exactly the same. Infernal Pincer. Boom. Single target, which is kind of whack. The skills themselves are not great for grinding, except for the C move. And it has a great flight ability. And when you are able to like glide downwards and then fly back up, you get this fire that surrounds you and increases your speed. Now, there are 2 levels to the Fury meter. When the first level is filled up, which is orange, you can transform into your hybrid dragon form, which is like, dude, like a cute little mini Buddha. Now your M1 is much stronger. You have a 5-hit M1 combo instead of 3 hits, making it so good for grinding. Unfortunately, though, you need to get this thing to 350 mastery just in order to use it. But of course, the most important skill for the dragon is the Imperial evolution, the ultimate transformation, guys. Probably not the best place to use the transformation. This place is a little bit claustrophobic, but you turn into a massive dragon. This fruit is one of the best in the game for grinding. You don't even need to use your M1 fire breathing technique. All you gotta do is use your scorching downfall, and you can hit the entire map. All of these skills deal mob damage, which is pretty cool too. I will say though, the biggest difference between the Eastern Dragon transformation and the Western Dragon transformation is that the Western Dragon has probably like the fastest flight ability in the entire game. From what I understand, it is just much faster. The skills are slightly different. It's almost like a mutation to the other fruit. The C skill, the Scorching Downfall, you breathe this giant beam into the air and it just like rains hell on your opponents. Overall, great for grinding, great for raids, great for boss fights, and even great for traveling with your friends because you can have a mount on the dragon and they can ride you. Major pause, and I think on that note, it's probably time to rank the dragon. I don't think anybody can disagree that the dragon fruit is on top of the S tier. Let me know what you guys think of this tier list in the comments below, guys. These videos are getting more and more difficult to make as they release more fruits. But, you know, I could be completely wrong here. We could all disagree, but at the end of the day, it's just my personal opinion. So show me some love anyway by dropping a like, subscribing to the channel, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video. Peace!